If you often notice that your hands or feet are cold, this might be a cause for concern, and sometimes it's justified. In this video, we'll explore the reasons behind this, starting with a positive note. When are cold hands and feet normal? The feeling of cold in your hands and feet may be related to a drop in the surrounding temperature. This is a completely normal bodily reaction. This is how the body protects vital organs from external influences. There are no such vital organs in the extremities, so to conserve heat, blood vessels constrict, and less blood flows to these tissues. As a result, the temperature in these areas drops, and a person feels cold. This sensation disappears when the body returns to a comfortable environment. The blood vessels dilate again, fill with blood, and the extremities warm up. How does the sensation of cold in the extremities occur? There are two main mechanisms that explain why hands and feet get cold. The first, which is more common, is associated with an actual decrease in temperature in these areas. The second mechanism, which is less common, involves disorders of the nervous system. In other words, the hands and feet themselves maintain a normal temperature, but the body perceives them as being cold. The sensation of cold in the human body is controlled by thermoreceptors, special cells that detect temperature changes. They are located in the skin, on mucous membranes, and in some organs. When the temperature changes, these receptors send a signal to the brain, and the person realizes whether they feel cold or hot.
There are also thermoreceptors on the cornea of the eye, and they are even more sensitive than those in the skin. However, the cornea itself cannot warm up through blood flow. It has no blood vessels. In cold conditions, tear production reflexively increases, which warms the surface of the eye.
Now we'll discuss the causes of cold hands and feet that are not related to serious illnesses, but rather to lifestyle and personal habits. The good news is that you can address these causes on your own without seeking medical help. Lack of sleep. Due to sleep deprivation, the body is less resistant to stressful situations, one of which is exposure to cold. It's simply not prepared to quickly mobilize and increase blood flow to the extremities in response to cold. Sedentary lifestyle. Without exercise and physical activity, the body is less effective at regulating blood vessels. When needed, the heart doesn't start working harder, and blood vessels are slower to constrict or dilate. Exhaustion. Simple malnutrition or various experiments with minimal calorie diets also increase the body's susceptibility to cold. Heat is generated not only from tissue oxygenation, but also from the breakdown of nutrients. If fewer nutrients are consumed, the body struggles to find resources to keep warm, and it primarily economizes on hands and feet.
Eskimos, living in very low-temperature conditions, have bodies that are forced to produce significantly more heat. Animal fats, fish, walrus, and reindeer make up to 70% of their diet. Because of this, Eskimos are more resistant to cold.
Stress. During stress, large amounts of the hormone cortisol are released into the bloodstream. In such conditions, the regulation of vascular tone is impaired, and the body responds poorly to changes in ambient temperature. Limb numbness from an uncomfortable position. Even a healthy blood vessel can be compressed if you are in an uncomfortable position. As a result, blood flow to the limb is reduced, and it gets cold. If this happens outdoors during cold weather or in windy conditions, tissues freeze more quickly. It is essential to warm up and massage the limb to restore blood flow. Otherwise, frostbite may occur. Smoking. Over time, smokers develop damage to their blood vessel walls. They become less elastic and cannot quickly constrict or dilate. Because of this, when exposed to cold, the body cannot quickly warm up the extremities with fresh blood, and they get cold. Cold intolerance. Increased sensitivity to cold can also be an individual characteristic of the body. Such people get cold faster even in weather that is relatively warm for those who are more cold-hardy. This intolerance is explained by the number and functioning characteristics of cold receptors. How can you tell if feeling cold in your hands and feet is a symptom of illness? If the feeling of coldness in your hands or feet occurs regularly and persists for a long time, it should be a reason to see a doctor. The presence of additional bodily disorders may also be a reason to consult a specialist. There is a high likelihood that these are symptoms of serious illnesses. Here is what we are talking about: pale skin, bluish discoloration of fingers and toes, pain in muscles and joints, rapid fatigue, numbness in limbs, and loss of skin sensitivity. Muscle weakness in the extremities. Asymmetry of symptoms, for example, only the right hand feels cold while the left does not. Shortness of breath, swelling of extremities. What diseases cause cold hands and feet? There are several groups of diseases that cause this symptom. The first group affects the nerves, which may make a person feel that their feet or hands are colder than they actually are. Additionally, nerve problems can lead to spontaneous vasoconstriction, causing reduced blood flow to the extremities. The second group affects blood composition. It becomes low in substances responsible for transporting energy and oxygen to the tissues. The third is vascular diseases. Narrowed or partially blocked blood vessels in the extremities lead to poor circulation. Let's look at what diseases may be associated with cold hands and feet. Anemia, Raynaud's syndrome and disease, hypothyroidism, diabetes, kidney diseases, anorexia, varicose veins, heart failure, injuries to the extremities. All of the above diseases and disorders require qualified medical assistance. In these cases, the feeling of coldness in the extremities is not just a discomfort that can be tolerated. It's the first symptom of a serious disorder in the body that can lead to severe complications. What should you do if your hands and feet are regularly cold? First of all, you need to consider if there's an objective reason for feeling cold. If your feet and hands feel cold even at a comfortable temperature, you should look for possible accompanying symptoms. Together, they will indicate the presence of a problem. If your hands or feet are cold, you can warm them up faster with the following methods. Active movements that tense the muscles in your extremities. Squats, arm or leg swings. Gently rubbing the skin with your hands. Rubbing with water or alcoholic drinks doesn't always have a positive effect. Deep massage of the muscles in the extremities. Drinking tea or other hot beverages. Be careful with the following methods of warming the body. To warm up your hands or feet quickly, you shouldn't stay very close to heating devices or fire. A sudden temperature change will be harmful to blood vessels. Moreover, frozen or bloodless skin loses sensitivity, and a person can easily get burned. Consuming alcoholic beverages is also undesirable until a person is in a warm environment. Alcohol causes blood vessels to dilate, and blood flows actively to the extremities. This warms them up and makes the person feel more comfortable. But in fact, it disables the body's natural defenses. The blood itself, as it passes through the extremities, cools quickly and returns to the internal organs chilled. This often leads to pneumonia and other complications.
This content is for informational and educational purposes only. Consult with a doctor or healthcare professional before following any recommendations provided in this video. Tell us about your experience in the comments and subscribe to our channel.